So I'm now beginning my second series of videos for visitors to a city for the first time. As some of you saw my earlier series of videos, those dealt with first-time visitors to Istanbul. This series of videos will detail first-time visitors to Baku in Azerbaijan, which is a city which I absolutely fell in love with when I visited in November. It had actually always been a goal of mine to visit Azerbaijan, and I certainly was not disappointed. I really enjoyed my visit, and this will be to give tips for anyone who wants to visit, both for Pakistani viewers and American viewers. So this will follow by and large the same pattern as my Istanbul videos. This video essentially will deal with how to get to Azerbaijan, the visa process, and how to get from the airport to wherever you're staying at in the city. And the subsequent videos will deal with what to see, where to eat, where to stay, cell and mobile phone networks, whether you need a tour guide or not. A review of Azerbaijan Airlines, of Heydar Aliyev International Airport. So before I start, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude and thanks to my dear friends at the Embassy of Azerbaijan here in Washington, D.C. They were extremely helpful with regards to giving suggestions of when to visit Azerbaijan, what to visit in Baku, what restaurants to eat at Baku, and just obviously the encouragement of encouraging me to visit their beautiful country, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope to once again visit again fairly shortly, once this whole coronavirus situation clears up. So I'd like to offer my special thanks and gratitude to His Excellency Alin Suleimanov, the Ambassador of Azerbaijan to the United States, Counselor Vugar Gurbanov, and Political Counselor Shalala Valiyeva. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for your encouragement of visiting your beautiful country. So why visit Baku? Baku, it has to be one of the most unique cities I've ever visited. It's an interesting, it's at the crossroads of East and West, and at the crossroads of three major empires, the Ottoman Empire, the Safavid and Qajar Empire, and the Russian Empire, and the Soviet Union. A part of all three empires at one time or another as well, which brings an interesting confluence of Turkic, Iranian, and Russian culture there. Very interesting, very fascinating. I had always wanted to visit since I studied about the former Soviet Union in college, and I was not disappointed. So we'll start off with the visa process to begin with. Azerbaijan has an e-visa process, e-visa system similar to Turkey's, where you can apply for a visa online. For my Pakistani viewers, the good thing about Azerbaijan is that it's, as compared to the Turkish e-visa system, where it has certain caveats for you to use it, such as having a permanent residency in the United States, the EU, Canada, or visa from those countries. You don't need that to visit to get a visa for Azerbaijan. That's one of the reasons why there's a lot of Pakistani tourists who visit Baku and Azerbaijan as well. So for the e-visa process, when you apply, it gives you the option of a rush delivery, which is in a few hours, or standard delivery, which is within 1 to 3 business days. The total fee, including the processing fee for the standard visa, is about $23. And the visa, what it is that it's a, it's a 30-day visa which becomes you set the date of when you plan to visit, and it'll be valid during that period, at the beginning of that period when you plan to visit, and valid for 30 days. That's for the standard service. Now I got my visa within 24 hours, so the standard service is fine. The rush service apparently is if you want to get a visa within 3 to 5 hours. The fee for that is $75. So I would not go for that unless, I guess you want to go there if you have an emergency and have to visit. So the visa fee, the standard visa fee, is the way to go. The Azerbaijan e-visa system is slightly different than the Turkish version. From the point of view is that you have to submit a photograph of yourself. So it's best to do this on a computer or a laptop, because sometimes the photograph has to meet certain size requirements. So you may have to fiddle around with the size of the picture. So it's best to do it on a laptop or a computer. Once you submit it the standard way, you'll get a link to a PDF similar to the Turkish e-visa system. You'll receive your visa. I highly recommend that you print the e-visa out. Similar to Turkey, I never saw anyone at immigration at Heydar Aliyev International Airport show immigration their mobile electronic device with a copy of the e-visa. Everyone showed the actual paper copy. So do that. Now, how to get to Baku? So from the United States, there are essentially 4 ways to go. One way of going is via Azerbaijan Airlines. Azerbaijan Airlines does have a direct flight from Baku to New York JFK. It's not a daily flight, it's a few times in the week. The only problem with the flight is that it leaves at 12 in the afternoon. So you have to be at the airport at 9 in the morning. For people living outside the New York metropolitan area, that's not really feasible. So if you want to go that route, you would probably have the best bet would be to go to New York the night before rather, and stay in an airport hotel, either the new airport hotel at JFK or one of the surrounding airport hotels close by. I believe it's a 12 to 13 hour, I believe it's a 12-hour direct flight from New York to Baku. I think you reach Baku maybe in the evening time, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my, I've never gone on that flight, so I can't really comment on that. Azerbaijan Airlines does fly the 787 on this route. I will give a review of Azerbaijan Airlines, or Azal as it's called in Azerbaijan, in a subsequent video. The other options are Lufthansa does have a flight to Baku from Frankfurt, so you can fly Lufthansa into Frankfurt and then change flights at change airplanes in Frankfurt, transfer airlines at Frankfurt rather. That also is not the Frankfurt to Baku flight is also not a daily flight, so you have to check Lufthansa's schedule. The only problem with Lufthansa is that the price of their economy ticket was fairly expensive, as I actually considered going on Lufthansa to Baku. I mean, their economy ticket was fairly expensive that it kind of put me off from flying it. One exotic way of going to Baku is on Aeroflot via Moscow Sheremetyevo. From Moscow to Baku, there are direct flights, daily flights, I believe, if I remember correctly, from Moscow. Airflight does fly from various uh, cities in the United States. They fly out from New York JFK, Miami, LAX, Los Angeles, Washington, Dallas. Um, so that might be a option if you want to fly through. Airfly, from what I hear, is a very good airline, but Moscow Sheremetyevo as a transfer point is not very good from what my understanding. The best option if you're going from the United States is to go on Turkish Airlines. Uh, as I mentioned in my videos about Istanbul, Turkish Airlines flies from numerous uh, cities in the United States and from Canada as well, which you would then transfer in Istanbul. The flight to Baku leaves, depending on the time of year, either leaves at 9:30 or 10:30 at night. Um, so you will have a 5 to 6 hour layover in Istanbul airport. Um, but as I mentioned in my Istanbul videos, Istanbul airport is a huge airport. There's plenty to do there, so the 5 to 6 hours will go by relatively easy. Before you board the flight to Baku, they will check your passport and your visa prior to boarding the flight. One of the Turkish airline officials will go and to where the passengers are sitting and will check that. The flight from Istanbul to Baku is anywhere from a 2.5 hour to 3 hour flight. So if you leave at 10:30, you will reach Baku at about 2 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning, depending on how quickly the flight gets there. For my Pakistani viewers, it's either you're going to fly either via Dubai, on Fly Dubai, Qatar Airways via Doha, or Etihad via Abu Dhabi. There's no direct flight from Pakistan to Baku, though there has been talk of Azerbaijan Airlines starting a direct flight to Pakistan because of the number of Pakistani tourists visiting Baku now. The interesting thing is that once upon a time, PIA did have a direct flight from Pakistan to Baku. I think it was in the it was from the early to probably mid to late 90s is when that flight flew. And I think Azerbaijan Airlines also might have initially also flew from Baku to Karachi for a few years also. But now, because of the increase in tourists who are going, if this flight does happen, it would do good business if it were to once it commences. So when you arrive at Heydar Aliyev International Airport, which is the main international airport in Baku and main international airport for Azerbaijan, it's a fairly modern airport. I'll give a more in-depth review in a subsequent video. But by the time, if you fly on Turkish Airlines, the Turkish Airlines flight will be the only flight arriving at that time. It's 2 in the morning. So the airport is fairly empty. There's no line, there won't be any lines at immigration when you go, when you enter the airport. Luggage arrival did take a little bit longer than I expected for being the only flight there. And Heydar Aliyev International Airport is not a huge airport, but it kind of surprised me that it did take a little bit longer for luggage to come out. Now, to go from the airport to Baku, normally the way to go, obviously if you've booked in a hotel, the hotel will usually offer you transport from the airport back to the hotel in the city. Heydar Aliyev International Airport is about 25 minutes away from downtown Baku. It's outside this. It's right on the outskirts of the city. So it's about a 25-minute trip there. The other options, let's say if you don't want to, if you didn't book through your hotel, or let's say you're staying in an Airbnb or whatever, you're going to find another way. They do have a bus service which runs from Heydar Aliyev International Airport to one of the stations on the metro in the Baku metro. So there is a 24-hour, I think it's a 24-hour bus service which runs. There is Uber in Baku, so if you want to use Uber, that's an option. The cabs, from my understanding, are on the expensive side. So most people don't tend to take cabs into Baku. There is a plan to extend the Baku metro all the way to Heydar Aliyev International Airport. It currently does not go there. As I mentioned, there is a bus service. The bus service goes to the station closest to Baku, to Heydar Aliyev International Airport. But I think that there is a plan to extend the Baku metro to out to the airport. So that is it for this first video about first-time visitors to Baku. My second video will focus on where to stay at, where to eat, suggestions on cell phone and mobile network options, and also suggestions for shopping. So until then, thank you.